Howdy, all you delicious people. I'm here to review Batman Mask of the Phantasm. This film, I, as a young lad, had probably seen the very tail end of it, late night somewhere, and for some odd reason, I had seen the visual of the Phantasm, but didn't really know what it really was until I'd watched Justice League Unlimited years later, and been like, oh yeah, that's that character from that movie I saw at the tail end once. Whatever was that character, and why didn't I pursue that movie? And so what I mean by that is at some point Justice League Unlimited would go on and give you a conclusion of a character known as Terry McGinnis, a future Batman from Batman Beyond. You'd come to find out that the character would be somehow gene connected to, or blood connected to, Bruce Wayne, and find out that Amanda Waller, as a much older version of herself, was to have tried to hire an assassin to try to put an end to Terry McGinnis being a normal boy and pushing him through his parents' deaths to become Batman, to inevitably find this assassin by the time that they were supposed to kill Terry's parents got cold feet and could not go on and pull the trigger. And Amanda Waller could immediately understand that and be fine with that decision. And ultimately, Amanda herself found it difficult to make that decision past that point, also. And ultimately, Terry was just cursed to become Batman either way. So, for Batman Mask of the Phantasm, I had gotten recommended this by some pro wrestler called Danhausen. You may have heard of him. He's in one of those kind of 3-letter alphabetical wrestling promotions that he's a really big, huge, massive top seller of sorts, it seems. And is to have been on an Ethan Page toy vlog, of which that I had watched a good chunk of recently again. Simply because, like, I just like thrifting videos. I like to go on, and I always like to try to obtain certain memorabilias and shirts and certain superhero and stuff of that nature, kind of products of sorts. So I had gone on to have heard that Danhausen was to say that Mask of the Phantasm was to have been one of the best Batman animated movies, and I'm like, okay, yeah, saw the tail end of this movie once, so let's see what it's about. So, when going on to this movie, I feel that Mask of the Phantasm is the blueprint for Batman animated films. Yes, it also is to be connected to Batman the Animated Series, of which that, in all honesty, I don't have the best of memories of, because it was so young in my life of things. And there is honestly a good chunk of cartoons that I watched as a young lad that I have no memory of whatsoever. I just don't. It's hard to have retained a good lot of that. There was some stuff that I had, like, just drilled into my mind for just so how frequently I watched it, that, yeah, I had a very good memory of, but, like, there was some stuff that just went in one ear, out the other, as far as cartoons concerned, and I feel like Batman the Animated Series was very much one of them. But again, Justice League and Justice League Unlimited was something that stuck for some odd reason. I don't know why. But anyways, so Mask of the Phantasm is Batman Year One and Batman into the Red Hood smashed into one film. With an hour and 60-minute runtime, this movie tries to accomplish a lot. And it puts together such an interesting story that I am to just be, like, wowed about. But also, there are certain pieces of this movie that I was like, okay, these scenes just kind of feel strange. Like, too much of the graveyard where Wayne is staring at a grave that just says Wayne on it. Because if you would have had Thomas and Martha Wayne on a gravestone, you may have had to have paid some money to somebody. Going on and also having the scene where both Bruce and Alfred are just bickering at one another, and Alfred throws in the whole like, well, hey, when you were young, I was changing your diapers. And Bruce is like, touche. And then he just kind of walks off. I'm like, yeah, them just bickering like old biddies at one another. But Alfred is just known for busting Bruce's chops. That's what he's just known for. He's just there to grill him all the time. Anyways, so, but there's just some stuff that doesn't always quite fit well. As well as also to be like, how exactly does this feel like year one and Into the Red Hood? Well, there's a scene where Bruce is going on in his karate gi and he's fighting shadows outside. And immediately when looking at that scene, I can remember Batman Year One, where Bruce goes on and says, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And he had just gone on to explode a tree in half with his foot with one single kick, but he's not ready. He just did something superhuman. But, like, will he ever be ready to be Batman? Probably not. But he'll thrust the cape and cowl and try to be the Batman that this city needs or deserves, whichever one is to really be the thing that Gordon will go on and state in some quote at some point. Because Batman isn't wearing hockey pads. Anyways, so plus why does Batman hate the forest? Like, is he gonna go on and go after Smokey the Bear at some point? Only Bruce can prevent forest fires. Like, does Bruce hate the forest like he hates rock and roll? Like that one weird goofy story where he legit hates rock and roll. I always have to bring that up somewhere because it's just goofy and funny to me. But anyways, let me know in the comments below what is be your funniest story of Batman, because I'm sure there's so many of them, and uh, and who knows, maybe this will be it. So we make our way into Bruce needing guidance. And instead of looking for a man that is to be an elder to him and is still alive, like Alfred, Bruce goes on and seeks out guidance from people who can't talk back to him because they're dead. He goes to his parents' graves to ask them what he should do. And while going on and doing that task, he meets with a woman that is endlessly talking to herself. And Bruce is to be so ever nosy, just like, wait a minute, are you talking about me? Wait a minute, you me? Like, did you say my name? Bruce, you're a bit of a smotherer. Like, get the away. So weirdly enough, Bruce is just so weirded out by this girl. He just kind of walks away from her. And Andrea is just like, well, yeah, I guess this guy's kind of cute. And you know what? Like, at least he's not, like, extremely weirded out by me that he's calling the cops or anything. So, like, how about I just continue to hang out with him more? And then we'll lock lips at some point because both of us are kind of weird. And, like, maybe our strange and his strange will just kind of equal to one another. And he'll want to put a ring on it at some point, which he does. And then all of a sudden she disappears because she's, I guess, more strange than Batman is. The guy who has the most amount of sanity compared to anyone else, because Alfred says so. As well as also Bruce would probably go on and say that his parents had him tested. So we make our way into this film, and so Bruce is to kind of think back about the girl that got away, and when he comes back to current time, that girl comes back to him, and Bruce then has to figure out, like, hey, Andrea, why are you here? Like, hey, like, why are you back in town? As well as also, isn't it kind of convenient that you're back in town around the same time that this new vigilante is starting to lob up all of these mobsters? Kind of weird. So, because Bruce gets into his cape and cowl after the ski masking and burglar like outfits that he rough drafts his way through, and then he goes on like Peter Parker from Spider-Man and comes up with his Batman costume where he sketches it out and then kind of scribbles something out and then comes up with Batman. There wasn't ever a real point where Bruce, it seems, just to bring up anywhere in here where bats terrify him like in other projects. Plus also Bruce goes on and is to discover the Batcave, and I am to just go on and just be like, okay, they kind of really brush through that like it was nothing. That kind of just bugged the shit out of me. So Bruce inevitably goes on to become this thing called Batman and starts to make his way into the mob of crime to then find this phantasmish character is to start lobbing these mobsters off. To where, of course, Batman doesn't go on and move in those same kind of circles because he has a code. And so he then needs to seek out this phantasm to stop it dead at its tracks. So, as the phantasm keeps going on as an angel of death awaits, coming after these mobsters, eventually, like in Under the Red Hood, where Black Mask goes on to desperately seek out the Joker, a mobster called Sal goes on and seeks out the Joker to save him, and in turn, you're speaking to the Joker. Like, you should have known, like, you were playing with fire and you were going to get burned. Literally or figuratively. But anyways, so the Joker faces off against the Phantasm, or after figuring out who is really going on and putting the boots to all these mobsters. And then Batman has to go on and save either Joker or Phantasm, or just let them both go up in smoke. And just at some point decide, hey, I can just get the out of here and I'll be done with both of these. Like, two birds, one stone? Like, come on. Anyways, so as well as the person who is to be revealed of the Phantasm is to mention about how their lives was to have been completely stripped away from them to where there was only thing left but this. And that's what makes them to become this said ghost of person. So, with that said, I may go on and tiptoe my way into actual spoilers of who said person is, and then I will start to rattle off the movie. So, before I go on and I do that, I do the reveal of who that person is. Future reviews, I've gone on to start saying that I do want to get into some superhero content. I'm hoping to continue to do more of Spider Noir, even though these other projects are coming up. I'm hoping to go on to Teen Wolf soon. I'm hoping to do Birds of Prey, the show, pretty soon. I'm hoping to do 30 other projects that I probably promised. We're going to be a thing on here. Uh, I've been dealing with a lot lately, but I'm still going to go on and try to keep putting some kind of content out as best as I can, hoping for the best. And then going on, I'm like, well, at least that did some kind of number. Cool. Like, I can just be happy that, like, during the time of which that I'm healing up, because technically right now I'm injured and I'm trying to recover. Yeah, like me just trying to do projects right now is just like I'm hoping for the best. I'm actually recovering very quickly right now. I'm not in much of pain or discomfort or really. I feel like I'm getting very close to 100%, so it's only probably a good, probably small number of days before I think I make a full recovery. Hopefully, that I hope um, there isn't one day where I completely derail myself or bounce back or whatever. Like, uh, I'm hopefully planning on tonight getting a normal sleep in my own bed because I haven't been. I've been going into other places to just be worried that if I sleep in my bed that I may not be able to get back out of it. So yeah. Um, yeah, I'm not going on and I'm not trying to go through all these videos to guilt trip anybody. I'm just saying that, like, yeah, this is where I'm at. It's whatever, just kind of flying out of my mouth. So, with that said, uh, yeah, I'm hoping for the best for this channel and me recovering. And let's get on to uh, rattling off this entire film because I think it's about that time to say that it is spoiler time, spoiler time. It's about that time to get to spoil this movie. Let me know in the comments below. Just whatever, if you like Batman, any superhero character, let me know in the comments below. What is your favorite Batman comic book or any other kind of just animated or content stuff in general with a either superhero bit of content or just something that meshes with this. I don't know. Either way, it's time to say that it is time for me to go on and reveal who the Phantasm was. So, spoilers, everybody. So, we'd find out quite easily that for this story, that they're investing so much time in a character that obviously is to be the Phantasm, who is to be Andrea. I don't think that is much a surprise because who else is really in this story that this could have been? Joker is going to want to be from under the Red Hood stating, like, wouldn't you think if it was me? Like, wouldn't I have told you? Wouldn't you know? Like, why would I try to hide this? It makes no sense anymore. So, it definitely wasn't the Joker. It definitely wasn't Penguin, Two-Face, Riddler, or something like Hush was. To where it's like, okay, who is Hush? Or who is the bad guy in Long Halloween? Like, they had to take, like, a number of parts to figure that out and put the pieces of the puzzle to that together. But so, of that holiday killer. So, yeah, for this one, it's pretty simple and still an impactful, interesting story, I feel. So, let's go on and let's get into the scenes of this. So, spoilers, everybody, it's about that time. We begin the movie with, of course, a setting shot with all these buildings, because of course we do. We have to do that for every single project that has ever existed in our lives. So, they cut to the Shady Lady Casino where we have Chucky's soul who is talking to all these mobsters. And it looks like they're going on and they're looking at printed money because they're talking about how the money looks like the real thing and something like that. So this must be counterfeit money that they're just laundering here. Batman breaks through a window and starts going on and fighting these thugs as they whip out guns. Batman goes on underneath the table and swings the table to flop on one of the mobsters, and Batman starts to go on and starts to take these thugs down one by one. Chucky ends up getting away, running from this bridge to inevitably trying to get to this parking garage where he tries to make his way to his car, to inevitably get accosted or to be prevented from getting there by who he thinks is to be Batman, because he's like, Batman, how did you get here so quickly? And then all of a sudden, it is to be your angel of death awaits. Okay, that's a little strange. So, as Chucky is to have the Phantasm in front of him, we would go on to have this car coming into the parking lot and Chucky running to his car, getting into said car, and then Phantasm jumping onto Chucky's hood, bashing through the windshield. Chucky is to figure out a way to get the Phantasm off of said hood, and then want to try and run him down, all to be led of a disappearance act with a puff of smoke. Chucky is to go on and drive through the parking garage and crash through the end of it to go through this window, crash through it to an adjacent building or a cross building of it, and all Batman is to go on and do is to backtrack to that parking garage, to that opening, to see two gentlemen looking at Batman off in the distance like, hey, did Batman just kill that guy? Batman runs off to go on and see Phantasm off in the distance, following it in a shadow of smoke and not much else. And at some point, Batman no longer being able to track it down. Now we cut to Arthur. Arthur is going on and being our equivalent of Harvey Dent here. There, I think, is also to be Harvey Bullock, not to get those two characters confused. Harvey Bullock is to be this detective that is to be well known within Batman the Animated Series. And at some point I'll just see Bullock so that way these characters aren't to get confused. But anyways, Arthur is to be speaking about how vigilantism is at its deadliest right now. And if anything, they're talking about how Batman is going on and being a loose cannon and can't be trusted and is killing people. And Gordon is kind of refuting those statements. And so Bruce Wayne is going on and watching this whole thing through the Batcave. And Alfred is mentioning about how he feels that Bruce is completely sane. Yeah, sure. So, Batman, after going on and trying to follow up on the Phantasm, had found these pieces of glass. And he found this strange chemical residue that he wanted to go to the Batcave to figure out exactly what it is. So Bruce goes through the Bat computer, looks at the chemicals, and it seems that there is some kind of weird polymer of some kind that Bruce will have to look further into. but it seems that there is a plane landing soon, that he will go on and find a person within it very familiar to him. So we find that Andrea is on the plane, going on and calling up Arthur, having them talk about like, well, hey, like, I've taken care of all your financial problems and had them all squared away with my lawyer, Arthur, or Arthur kind of figures it out. And there's a possibility that they're going to go back and go into Martha's ancient history. And Andre is looking at a Forbes magazine with Bruce Wayne's face on it. It's like, yeah, she's going to be picking up where she left off. She's going to get a little Wayne in her. So we now cut to Bruce in the mansion, having yet another party that he always likes to throw all the time. How many times now have we gone on to see a party in the Wayne Manor? Like, so many live action movies have done it at this point, and we've gone on to see it then here. So, Wayne has women on his shoulders because, of course, because he's a buff dude and he's freaking Bruce Wayne. You have to go 1,000 miles to have anybody know who he is. Because Batman Begins. So, Bruce is inevitably going on to have these women on his shoulder, saying to him, it's like, Bruce, like, you're all in this mansion all alone. Evidently, she doesn't know who Alfred is. Yeah, all alone, Bruce. Yeah, evidently, she doesn't know that eventually Bruce, like, adopts so many kids and has a dog at some point. Has a kid named Terry McGinnis that comes into the back. So alone, Bruce. Haven't you thought of marriage, Bruce? Well, Bruce has kind of been linked to a number of women. At some point, he goes on to have a child with one of them. And there's this always kind of secret, will they, won't they kind of thing with them. There are several times where or Catwoman ends up going on to even getting married to Bruce at some point. But Bruce, haven't you thought of marriage? And there's another woman that ends up coming by and ends up telling this woman, hey, don't go on and bring up marriage to Bruce. That's no. That's no goo. No goo. So, also, like, never bring up marriage to a guy like Bruce. If anything, also don't bring up the I word. Engagement. So, right after that, we have another woman that comes in, and she's a woman scorned by Dr. Wayne here. By Bruce's giant Wayne. Anyways, I'm just goofing off. So this woman comes in here, and it's to be a woman scorned, and it's to say that at one point that Bruce had completely forgotten that she even existed, so she throws a drink at him, hoping that he'll remember her for doing that at least, and then she walks off. Bruce goes on and meets up with Arthur and hands Bruce a handkerchief, and then ends up talking about Bruce's past. Hey, you remember Andrea? Like, whatever happened to that girl? Like, weren't you kind of with her at some point? Like, wasn't something going to happen between the two of you? And Bruce ends up saying to Arthur, it's like, hey, thanks for the handkerchief. So it's also thanks for the bat bashing you've been doing lately. Really bang up job you've been doing with that. Thanks for putting the boots to me, Arthur. You. No. Anyways, Bruce goes on and leaves the party to inevitably make to a portrait to his parents, his dead, his corpse of no. I'm sorry. I don't know. I think that's funny. But it's probably in poor taste talking about Bruce Wayne's dead wives. Oh, do you uh Batman Forever. I always talk about the scene because it's funny to me. At one point, uh, Grayson goes on and asks Alfred, "Hey, what's that room?" And Alfred's like, "Master Wayne's dead wives." And Grayson doesn't question that whatsoever. He's like, "Oh, okay." And then Alfred leaves, and it's like, "There's something about that room." So he has to go on. He has to come up with some weird, tricky, acrobatic way to slip in there. And then when he does, he finds the Batcave and he finds the Batmobile, and he's like, "Oh, hey, yeah, like I'm gonna go on a joyride." Anyways, so but cut to it. Bruce Wayne is going on and looking at some artwork with a couple in it. It's probably familiar to him, and I'm trying to figure out who they are now. So Bruce goes on to the grave of said people that just says the word Wayne on it. So hopefully they're important to Bruce Wayne's history of story of who they are. Because it doesn't seem on this tombstone they are actually important to him. So as Bruce is going on and having some flowers, because I guess he is a really rich guy, but he only had 2 roses that he could have afforded that day to just put on his family's grave. So, his dead parents. So, Bruce goes on and is to hear the jibber jabber of a woman that eventually he will lock lips with, named Hendria, and she'll be going on and talking to her mother's gravestone, going on and saying how protective her father is, and missing her mother, and then she kind of stops, and so Bruce ends up going on and saying, "Excuse me, like, were you talking to me? I'm not seeing any other undead people or people who are not dead, not undead. I'm sorry, I hate to confuse you. I don't see any people who are not dead other than me. So you talking conversation to me?" And Andre is like, "No." And so Bruce is like, "Oh." So Andrea goes back and starts talking to her mother in her grave, and is mentioning about like, "Well, yeah, that's Bruce Wayne. You know, Bruce Enterprises. Like, he looks like a really cute guy." And then Bruce is like, "Hold on a minute, like, you were you talking to me? You said my name. Uh, so does that mean I should talk to you now?" And so the more it feels that Andrea will not get a freaking time to talk to her dead mother anymore. Finally, Andrea's like, "No, I was talking to my mother. She's right there in the grave. Like, I was talking to my mother who has passed away. She in my head answers me sometimes, and I feel comforted by it. And so it's okay. I've made so many bajillion jokes about dead parents. I apologize. But if anything, honestly, with Batman, the whole dead parents thing also at some points does become a joke. Weirdly enough, it just is strange. But I don't know what else to make a joke of at this point, also because it's weird. Uh, I'm probably uncomfortable, so I feel like I probably have to make a joke about it. So Andrea is to start walking away here because she's not going to get some alone time with her mother to talk to. And so as the two of them start to go on, and Andrea makes her way to her car, she has the two of them kind of introduce one another, And weirdly enough, the two of them had just came from a graveyard, and Andrea thinks that it's weird that Bruce Wayne, with all the money and the power that he is to go on and obtain, it also looks like he is to be on the verge of just wanting to end it all. And I'm like, do you just realize where you came from? Do you realize that this guy is to have been mourning the loss of his deceased familia? And you're going on and you're telling him, hey, you look so glum. Like, what the is this scene? So, Andrea drives off, and then Bruce is like, so, we cut to a number of thugs that are to have tied up these coppas and are stealing a bunch of cylinders and weird goofy things at this establishment called Big Hats something or other. I have no idea what the bottom part is. So I think it says like Meds Cavalier or something. I have no idea. Cavaliers, whatever that is. Anyways, so Bruce goes on and gets in his burglar outfit, which is obviously the best way to blend in an environment that is to have other burglars be burgling an area and and for him to need to stick out. Nice moves, Bruce. So Bruce goes on and just jumps in the middle of things and requires these men to just stop what all they're doing and listen to him. And they're like, dude, you're already outnumbered. And if anything, also, we can just whip out these things called guns. So Bruce goes on and has his own bit of gadgetry early before the whole Batwing or Batarangs and another kind of other, like we're going into even before Batman Year One, where he'd go on and at some point when he's fighting crime to have like a number of weapons that he can only use for one per night. So Bruce whips out these bit of like ball-like devices to kind of disarm these guys and start to take them out. And then after Bruce goes on and starts wrestling them, it gets to the point to where there ends up being one of the thugs that ends up getting into the truck and starts to drive off. Bruce goes on and chases the truck down, jumps to the door of the trailer of this truck, grabs onto it, and the door is just swinging wildly. We get to the point where this scene kind of just could stand out to just anybody. And coinkly dinkly, we'd come to find that the police officers have to see this truck just passing by. And they're not just going to go on and be like, yeah, that looked a little strange. Well, like let's get back to our solitaire over here. No. They're going to go, all right, woo, let's see what that is. So Bullock, who's to be a guy in dress blues, turns to Jonesy. It's like, okay, let's follow up on this. So Bullock and Jonesy go on, and their horns are blowing. The truck gives no Fs. So it gets to a point where the cop car needs to go on and pull in front of the truck to try and just kind of cut across it thinking that the truck will then stop, and it won't. The truck will go on and just flip the cop car and just keep going anyways. Bruce will have made his way with a ball peen hammer to try and take out this truck, to inevitably get flung in front of it, to then have Bruce have all these spiked ball devices if he was going to go on and play, what is it, like jacks or whatever soon, uh the weird thing where you have that bouncing ball and then you pick up the things and you bounce the ball and like 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 that thing. So, but this is to take out tires on a truck. So the truck topples over. Bruce goes on and is to maneuver through this truck, hoping that it does not crush him. And it gets to the convenient point of just stopping just in time to where Bruce does not get crushed. And he climbs off of this truck to then make it on top of this building, where he ever gets so much of a getaway as these cop cars are wooing their way to this truck to stop this one-hole bandit thug character. Next, we go on to see Alfred, who's going on and looking at the newspaper of a mysterious vigilante repels bandits. I wonder who that could have been. I hope it could have been a guy named Grayson. Maybe it could have been maybe somebody else. Anywho, so Boy Wonder. Anyways, so Alfred goes on to see that Bruce is doing some karate practice. He's doing some shadow fighting, as I like to say, because he's fighting nobody. So you would think with a guy like Bruce, he could probably afford a trainer, or he could probably go to some random place out in the middle of effing nowhere, because of how often we see that, and get this crazy, weird, goofy training that doesn't make any sense. But he has to keep doing it in order to become Batman. Anyways, so here's where Andrea, I don't know why I have to pronounce it that way, comes out and sees what Bruce is doing. Andrea goes on and mentions how at a time she had gone on to take some self-defense classes herself. And immediately that just kind of sets off a bit of a red flag here. Just be like, yeah, they're foreshadowing to something here, but I'm not quite sure exactly what. So, Bruce goes on and is to spar with Andrea. If anything, go for the skirt, Bruce. Go for the skirt. So, Bruce goes on and seems to get the benefit of Andrea, and then Andrea ends up taking Bruce down. And then, third time's the charm, because Bruce goes on and takes Andrea down. Andrea goes on and says, like, hey, it seems you're a pretty good fighter, but are you good at dancing? So, here's where both Bruce and Andrea are locking lips for the first time. Then we cut to Bruce, who is to be looking at a portrait of Thomas and Martha Wayne, and is to be back to current modern time, where he's back at the party where he just had the girl throw a drink in his face, and Alfred is going on and now telling Bruce that one of the girls he was with is now going on and getting a little bit too frisky. So, we then cut to a guy named Buzz, who's a mobster, who has these men with him, that they are armed. They're going to go on and eventually come to Buzz's aid, when eventually he's be screaming and yelling like a little girl. So, Buzz is to go on and make his way to the grave of the guy who had died prior, who had been the Chucky character. So, Buzz had gone at Saul, the guy from before. So Buzz goes on and makes his way to the graveyard and inevitably calls Saul a loser and throws the wreath there. Why did this guy even take the time to make his way to this guy's grave? Just to insult him? That sounds about right. So Buzz goes on and makes his way to this grave to get accosted by some fog and a person coming out of the woodwork to say, "Your angel of death awaits." And I'd be like, okay, cool. Where is he? So Buzz goes on to, of course, be frightened by said Phantasm character. Being a bit of a klutz and just stumbling and fumbling upon himself consistently, he falls over some wheelbarrow and finds what looks like a axe of sorts. And well, it's not exactly an axe; it's more like an axe like gardening device. I'm trying to think of the actual name. So Buzz goes on and takes said axe like thing and wants to attack the Phantasm with it. But of course, the item ends up getting broken. Now Buzz all has is just this wooden spear that now he is to just be like, well, okay, I guess I'm just going to run away now. Buzz continues to run to then be face to face with Phantasm yet again. Buzz goes on and chucks the spear, and it just goes through the Phantasm. To where Buzz is like, oh, well, that's a neat little trick. So, by this time, Buzz has run all through the graveyard, and now finally Buzz's men is like, oh, I guess we should probably go on and help Buzz now. Like, it doesn't seem like he's been dead yet, so I think now's the time to help him. He probably won't be dead by the time we get there, right? Wrong. So, here's where Buzz goes on to be running to where he accidentally stumbles and falls into a grave. Buzz starts to claw his way out of the grave to eventually have the inability to get out of it. All of a sudden, there ends up being this angel of statue that falls on top of him and murders him. It takes him down. It takes him down for the count. Give him the old 1, 2, 3, no contest. So, we then go on and see these two thugs see some shadowy figure off in the distance. And for some odd reason, they think that it's Batman. It could be anybody, but they think it's Batman. And that's their assumption. So we then cut to a man named Sal, not Soul, Sal. So this is a completely different guy, a guy who needs oxygen to survive. So Sal is going on and reading this newspaper, and it says, another mob boss slain. Has Bat gone bats? What's up with all these news titles? Like in Batman Returns is like, does Batman blow it or something? And yeah, like the weird goofy titles of things. So Sal is realizing that, oh my god, like Batman is he's gonna kill me. Like he's killed all these other guys. Like I should feel that I'm next for some goofy reason. So Sal takes a big old whiff of his oxygen tank, or I'm assuming it's an oxygen tank, because I would go on to see like a Tobey Maguire film where they would kind of breathe in this other kind of thing that looks similar to an oxygen tank, but it's also just kind of some weird goofy drug. But anyways, I'm assuming it's oxygen. Because I should probably know better. Because I've seen that kind of apparatus fairly often within my own family. So we now cut to Arthur that is thrusting his way into Gordon's office to want to put the Batman to rest. Like so many people have gone on to do that in the past, right? It's always been successful. So Arthur wants Gordon to go after the Batman, and Gordon will not do it. Gordon goes on and tells Arthur, hey, if you want the Batman, you're going to go after him yourself. And Gordon just kind of walks off. So Arthur looks at all the cops and it's like, okay, guys, got a plan. The next thing we see is the bat signal being shut on, and it seems that Batman is in no hurry this time around to get to the bat signal. Batman is driving away with the Batmobile away from crime instead of towards it. I think that there probably was a part of a scene that maybe I kind of cut out here. Because I think maybe Batman was listening in on what was going on in GCPD somewhere. Maybe I'm kind of missing that somewhere. Anyways, so we now have Batman making his way to the graveyard from the last death crime scene location. Batman is to come up with a pattern of that same chemical residue from the glass within the graveyard of the grass of the soil. They have that same chemical residue. So Batman takes samples. Batman then goes on making his way through the graveyard to find the Wayne tombstone. With Andrea being coincidentally way late at night going on and deciding to see her mother at her gravestone, even though there has been a death that has occurred here, but that's not stopping Aunt Andrea. She wants to go on and see if her dead mother is okay. But I can probably understand maybe Andrea was a little scared that if she heard that something happened at this graveyard, that something could have happened to her mother's grave. Like grave robbing could have happened. So it makes sense, but also I'm just like, Andrea, why are you there? Don't take the risk. You can bump into guys like Batman and get killed. So Andrea notices the tombstone of Wayne and puts two and two together that Batman must be Bruce Wayne because of a tombstone. Strange. So we then have Andrea making her way to Arthur. So the two of them are talking, and Arthur is bringing up accounts and a lot of gobbledygook. Doesn't really matter. Andrea starts talking about reminiscing. A lot of this dialogue means nothing to me. So Batman is to be a little bit of peeping, and he has some binoculars, and he's going on and he's watching both Arthur and Andrea. Maybe Batman is a little bit jelly? I'm not quite sure what's really going on there. But Batman is binocularing up just to see if Andrea is going to be laying it on thick with Arthur, or maybe he still has a chance. Anywho, so Arthur goes on and brings up Andrea's dad, and Arthur talks about Andrea's father, hoping that she's going to slip something and talk about him. And if anything, Andrea tries to avoid it. So we don't get the confirmation of whether or not that Carl, Andrea's father, is still alive. She just kind of leaves it just kind of she just kind of leaves it to the like, well, you never know what the future might bring, and she just kind of leaves. So as Batman is to look at the binocs, he is to see the two of them are holding hands. He's like, I don't know. Like, did I blow it? So now we cut back to the past. Bruce and Andrea had gone on to a date together and have made their way to some amusement park, which is to be the world of the future. So to me, like, we can be very much reminded by like this by like the Stark Expo. We can go on and find any amusement park that we've ever seen in any comic book anywhere. Killing Joke, every single thing we can kind of like lock in here to have a memory of, and let me know in the comments below if anything kind of jogs in your memory of mind of what this place is. So the two of them get on this ride and they see what the world could look like in the future as they go to this ride called House of the Future. So here's where the two of them go on to find this futuristic car that looks just like the Batmobile, but in a pinkish red. Bruce goes on to look at the car and he's very distracted. And Bruce is to come up with some excuse for just being distracted. So the two of them make their way into Bruce's car. And they're talking about plans. And Andre is talking about her father and how she's going to soon call him. And Bruce is going to go on and meet Andrea's father. So as both Bruce and Andrea make their way to Carl, it seems that Carl is very welcoming to Bruce. It's like, oh man, Bruce is here? Like, oh my god, like, yeah, like, all right, like, and Bruce is going on and calling Carl by his last name, and Carl's just like, just call me Carl, Bruce. Like, you know what? Like, yeah, like, you better bed my my daughter. Like, you're Bruce freaking Wayne. Like, have anything you want. Like, yeah, like, Carl is just like, yeah, like, you want my daughter's hand in marriage? You freaking have it, Bruce. You're a stand-up guy. There's nothing wrong with you, Bruce Wayne. It's not like you're going to go on and fight crime or have a dual identity or anything like that, right? You're not going to go on and just hunt down assassins and fight criminals in some insane asylum for a good chunk of your life, right, Bruce? You seem like a solid guy. So obviously he doesn't go on and say all that, but god dang, I wish he would have. So at some point, Carl's assistant tells him that he's going to go on and meet up with Mr. Valestra. And it feels at this point like things have started to change. Like the tone has changed here. And if this guy wants an appointment, he gets it. So both Bruce and Andrea kind of sneak out because this guy is to kind of really be pushing his weight around. So Bruce and Andrea leave to eventually find that there seems to be this biker-esh like gang that is to be putting the boots to a guy that has this metal case that has what looks like a bunch of valuables within inside of it. So the biker gang starts to go on and start whipping out uh, these uh, like one of them looks like a sock with like something in it that's like smacking them down, and chains are being pulled out and everything like that. So Bruce is to go on and tackle one of the guys and thrust him over this bridge into this water. Bruce starts to go on and starts fighting these guys, and Andrea's like Bruce, like you're going on, you're gonna fight these guys, and Bruce is like, well, yeah, I have to do something. So Bruce goes against this biker that is basically going to ram into him. Bruce goes on to do the obvious thing that we've gone on to see several times when something like this happens. Bruce goes on to jump onto the motorcycle and kick the biker right off the motorcycle, taking him out. And then all of a sudden, Bruce, I think, starts to realize, like, oh, Andrea is watching me and I'm actually really good at this. Maybe I should play down how good I am. And here's where the biker comes in with his bat, swings, hit Bruce in the ribs, and takes him down. So I believe the bikers do get away with the loot. And Andre picks Bruce up and it's like, "Oh my god, thank God you're all right." So Bruce is kind of upset, his pride is hurt, but also like he was kind of distracted by Andrea and her good looks and so Bruce goes back home and he starts drawing the mock suit of Batman. And really it's a very it's a very much mock suit. Like really it's just a cape and it looks like just like a mask that is to be kind of like just kind of cut here and yeah, it's not anywhere close to us thinking like, yeah, Batman, yeah, that's it. So Bruce takes the paper and a ball, throws in the fire. So here's where Bruce is to go on and have the conundrum, like Peter did in Spider-Man 2, where he's like, isn't this what I want? Like, shouldn't this be what I should be doing? Like, can I have what I want? Which was ultimately to be Mary Jane in Spider-Man 2. And he's hoping that somebody's going to answer him. He's hoping that maybe Uncle Ben will kind of set aside the whole "with great power comes great responsibility." Be like, no, you knock boots with that Mary Jane. Like, yeah, you you tickle them ivories. You go on and you you go on and you go and you pop babies with that Mary Jane, and then go on and be your Spider-Man person. Yeah, go on and do that afterwards. And renew your vows and basically do that comic book. Yeah, do that. So Bruce is very back and forth because he really does like Andrea, but also he's thinking about wanting to be Batman. And so Alfred is off in the distance, just kind of like, well, it's kind of nice that like Andrea is really thinking that, or really would probably like to know that you're having this moral quandary about wanting her or wanting to be Batman. and you're really struggling to choose. So Alfred goes on and picks up the phone, and Bruce cannot come to it. For the life of him, he is to need answers, and the phone is not going to give it to him, so he leaves. Bruce runs to the grave hoping that he'll have the same exact experience that Andrea had had at her mother's grave with his parents, hoping that he'll go on and ask them questions and he will receive answers. The only answer of anything that he'll be getting is Andrea will be there next to him to hug and comfort him. And then we cut back to Bruce being Batman. All of a sudden, there's this helicopter looming over the town as Batman is trying to be discreet because he is a threat to everybody. Sal goes on to pull Arthur into his car, and Sal goes on to explain to Arthur what he thinks is going on, that Batman is starting to kill the mob, and that he also kind of pulls the Danny Glover where he's like, I'm getting too old for this. So Arthur is trying to think for the law-abiding way about all this. It's like, well, hey, you could seek witness protection program. And Sal is like, this is Batman you're talking about here. There is no protection program from Batman, of all people. So Sal takes a big huff of his oxygen as Arthur is so disgusted by Sal that he gets out of the car and walks off because their conversation is kind of concluded anyways. So Batman has gone on to make his way back to the Batcave, where he's going on and thumbing through the computer. So after going on and figuring out all of the mobsters that had gone on and gotten killed at this point, Batman is trying to figure out the pattern. So eventually figuring out who the next victim could probably be. Alfred starts to go on and talk to Batman and state what his agenda could be once he is to kind of use Sal as probably bait for the Phantasm and what he's going to do with him afterwards. And Batman is like, well, hey, you've known me long enough. And Alfred's like, well, yeah, like I changed your diapers. So yeah, I know you good and well. It's like, touche. That's the whole like that's the whole kind of B word fight that the two of them kind of have here. So Batman makes his way to Andre and Carl's office and starts to look at a lot of pictures. And once looking at pictures, there's to be a flashback here. Here is where Bruce goes on and proposes to Andrea, gives her a ring, and says he's not really good with this. So he hands her the ring, hoping that she'll say yes, and she does. The two of them hug, they kiss, and bats go flying, because of course they do. Maybe that was the time that Bruce got traumatized. That's where the Batman started. So Bruce and Andrea make their way back to meet up with Carl to find that Carl is to be rather busy with these mobsters. They're having this meeting, and so Andrea is to give Bruce a good night and tell him to kind of make his way out. Andrea makes her way to where her father is to find a guy who is to be Joker before he's Joker. I don't know who the guy's name who was Joker before he was Joker in this one. There's so many different iterations of Joker, there's not a definitive name that I can thrust out here to think of who this guy actually is in this iteration. Unless IMDb is to tell me at some point, well, the name isn't really there. So, guy before who would be Joker. So So Bruce goes on to get a note from Alfred, and it's the ring that was given to Andre is to be handed back to Bruce with a note on it. So, if anything, this note is very short. It just says "too young," need time, forget about me. Why not just rip your heart out and throw it on the floor? like Bruce is just like, what? Like, what did I say? Like, what did I do? So Bruce goes on and gets his cape and cowl and his belt and gets ready to fight crime and makes his way to the World's Fair or Go Ham World's Fair. So Sal makes his way to this amusement park to inevitably get spooked by these statues that sing this song. Joker then shoots down the statues and says how he hates that song, and then notices Sal. Grabs him, they start chatting, they have a good old time. So, Sal goes on to inevitably go into this amusement park ride with the Joker and goes on this ride. At some point, Sal is to struggle to breathe as this dog is to be in front of them. Joker punts it away. Is to talk to Hazel, this robot, and is upset that she's making meatloaf. La 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 la. Uh, so after all of this rigmarole, Sal is going on and fronting Joker $5 million in one briefcase. I don't think would logically fit, but $5 million somehow in this one briefcase. So Sal is going to give Joker $5 million up front, and then who knows how much after. So Joker is to mention how he's not really pest control, and Sal is saying to Joker, it's like, well, hey, like, for who you were in the past, like, your hands are just as dirty as mine. Somebody's going to be coming after you like they're coming for me. So Joker kind of thrusts Sal away, and And we kind of know that Joker is just like, dude, I can freaking kill you right here, right now, and not think twice about it. And that's kind of really what Joker does. He uses Sal as bait to lure Phantasm out and gives Sal a nice big smile. So Andrea meets up with Arthur. Uh, as Andrea starts to talk to Arthur, Andrea tries to figure out a way to get rid of Arthur, coming up with excuses, and then inevitably kind of slams the door in his face, gives him a good night. She kisses him, and then slams the door in his face. So Andrea, as she makes her way into her place, meets up with Batman. And there's a bit of interesting dialogue where she throws in his face, it's like, well, if anybody knows about uh, revenge, it's you. Or, like, no, wait, that happens a little bit later. Um, or no. Uh, no, like, yeah, it seems that she always has some backhanded thing to say to Bruce, and it's quite interesting in this movie. But anyways, so Andrea says about how she likes Bruce's cape, and talks about Carl and how he's been working with the mob and how there's actual paperwork to confirm all that. Because if anything, uh, Bruce knows that he can get answers from Andre for how close she was with her father. So Batman asks Andrea if she's going on and still doing what her father wants. And here's where Andrea throws some shade. Batman walks off, and Andrea starts crying and falls to the ground. So Phantasm makes its way to Sal's place, sees that Sal has a newspaper in his face, and so the Phantasm pulls the newspaper down. So Sal has gone on to have some Joker talks, and he's dead. And there's to be a camera that ends up seeing the Phantasm, like, oh, well, you're not bats. You're a whole different other thing. Oh, okay, well. So the Phantasm is just, of course, start to realize that this is a trap here. And so we cut to Batman. Batman is in the Batwing, and he is to kind of do this autopilot. He ejects himself out of the Batwing, and he starts chasing after the Phantasm. The two of them start fighting it out. Batman is hoping that this is going to end here, but the cops get involved. The helicopter gets involved. Batman gets lost in the smoke of the Phantasm, and if anything, he also gets lost in the bright lights of uh, the choppers that are surrounding him. There are also other cops that are going on and bashing through the Batwing, hoping to get into it. This kind of very much reminds me of the times of which, at some point in Batman, where the police would go on and figure out who Batman is, or already know who he is, and then kind of evade Wayne Manor and try to get to Bruce. Always an interesting thing to see. Uh, and I always kind of like these kind of scenes where it's like, oh, is he going to get away? So Bruce goes on and uses one of the choppers with his grappling hook to try uh, to escape here. And or I think that's what. Well, I think he goes on and he either dies or he does a grappling gun. I think he dives here. I'm not exactly sure. Either way, Bruce ends up, or Batman ends up getting thrusting upon a number of cops that are all whipping their gun out, hoping that Batman will finally freeze. Batman jumps from rooftop to to evade here, and he gets to a construction site building where at some point the guys get spooked by Batman, start blasting away, and Bullock is trying to get them to stop because there could be any number of things that could be flammable or explosive in there. And we'd find that these tanks are be flammable. They explode. Because of the explosion, Batman is kind of left in a bloody mess. We see him touching his face and blood is coming from it. Batman at this point is just trying to survive. He's escaping cops going on and searching for him within this building to see if he's still alive. Bruce at one point has to go on and grapple his cowl to this chopper, and they assume he's on this chopper, so they start blasting the cowl to find out that it's just pieces of wood that's connected together. Bruce is now on the run. Bruce is jumping fences, trying to evade the police, and Andrea is there in her car telling Bruce to get in. So Bruce evades the police, evidently. So Bruce is now home at the manor, getting taken care of by Alfred, who of course is to be the military doctor. Of course, he can easily take care of Bruce. So Bruce was so happy that Andrea just so happened to be there. Andrea to say that she always had a sense of timing. And so Bruce is to finally ask Andrea, like, okay, tell me the truth about your father. So we get a bit of a flashback here. Andre is going on and to have snuck in on her father speaking with the mob, and the mob was telling Carl that it's like, hey, like, you need to pay up by tonight. And so Carl goes on and says, okay, give me 24 hours. By 24 hours, I'll have the whole thing paid in full. And the guys go on like, okay, 24 hours, and then they leave. So Carl starts to scramble and get everything together for both him and his daughter to start escaping, because Andrea thinks like, oh, you can just pay them off and everything will be fine. And Carl's like, no, we don't have enough money right now to scrape together to pay them off. If anything, everything is just tied up in real estates and certain things that'll take weeks to go on and try to sell off and to get the money. Like, there's no way. So Carl is telling Andre is taking Andre and escaping and leaving town. So Andre explains to Bruce that that is to be what had happened, that they just ran off together, and that's why she gave him the letter and left. So Bruce and Andrea kiss yet again, and the two of them end up waking up together uh, outside, and they embrace. And Bruce goes on and sees Andrea making her way into her car and sees her off. Bruce makes his way back into the room and starts looking at all these pictures. Bruce is to probably have hope that after everything settles down here, that maybe him and Andrea can kind of pick up where they left off after all. Still giving Bruce hope. So, as Bruce starts to continue to keep looking through these photos, he goes on and notices one of the photos looks very familiar to him. Bruce starts to go on and use a bit uh, of pencil, and he notices that once he scribbles something into a face, he notices that one of the guys looks very much like the Joker. To where Bruce is like, oh, Joker's going to be involved in this. If anything, it's all going to end with him. So, yeah, like this is going to end up with somebody dead. So, here's where Joker meets up with Arthur. So, Joker goes on and starts talking to Arthur and about how crooked he is. And when the two of them start talking, like Joker keeps starting to mention about like, yeah, bringing the press in, like, yeah, like this will be a heck of a story. So the more they start talking, uh, Arthur assumes that everything that's going on is actually he's pinning it all on Batman. And Joker has this buzzer and hits it. It's like, no, it's not Batman, it's something else. So Joker is going on and explaining to Arthur what's really going on because he's not in the know. And so all of a sudden there's this phone call that comes in and ends up being Andrea. So Arthur picks it up and Joker's like, hey, don't tell anything of me and whatever, just kind of play it cool. So Arthur picks it up and Andrea is going to meet up with Arthur at some point. So the next thing we see is Arthur is in this hospital and he's gotten Joker toxin. He's laughing. He's trying to stop laughing, but he can't. The doctors are giving him some medication to kind of have the toxin kind of work through his body. So after the lights end up getting turned off, here's where Batman comes in and starts interrogating Arthur. Uh, Arthur goes on to spill the beans about how Carl was trying to get his daughter out of town, and Arthur, so that way he can go on and get elected to district attorney, he was going on and seeking Carl's help to fund him. And that's how Carl was to go on and be in debt. Because if anything, Arthur himself is broke and desperate and is hoping that he can manipulate Carl so that way he could get what he wanted. So, after that, and this movie just long-winded at certain points, so much so we're almost an hour and 30 minutes in. So, Batman makes his way to Andrea's place and finds a necklace that has a picture of him and her in it. Both Bruce and Andrea. Batman answers Andrea's phone, and it's Joker calling. Joker is releasing out a toy helicopter to Andrea's place to detonate an explosive. And Batman obviously is to have a batarang. He throws it, the helicopter explodes, and Joker thinks that now Andrea is dead. And Batman doesn't answer the phone. So we have a flashback that Andrea is to have tried to make her way back to her father Carl. And Carl was hoping that he could go on and pay them off because he had the money at some point. But the guys had built up so much interest after too much time passing, as well as also the payout that they wanted was him to pay out in blood, so he was going to get killed regardless. So Andrea comes home one day to find that Joker had killed her father. And so now we cut back to the Joker with Hazel, the robot. For some odd reason, this robot keeps having pieces fall off of it, and Joker keeps taking it. So Phantasm appears and says to Joker that the Angel of Death awaits. And Joker has a joke about like being harder to kill than a Joker on or a cockroach on steroids. And so Joker immediately reveals that Phantasm is actually none other than Andrea, and Andrea reveals herself as like wow, like how is it that he knew so easily? But yeah, I guess it was just so it was so obvious at this point because Carl is ruled out, so it has to just be Andrea at this point. So as Andrea uses her hook against Joker, or no wait, Andrea uses her kind of weapons against Joker, and Joker uses his uh acid flower on his suit against Andrea, and her hook melts. As Joker starts fighting Andrea, At some point, here's where Joker starts bringing in some tools to face off against Andrea. Starts grabbing these random bits of like this huge lob of like meat and starts hitting Andrea with it. Joker goes bashing through this window, and at some point there's uh this jet propeller like coming from a plane that starts to spin like a huge fan, and Andrea starts to get sucked in. All of a sudden, here's where Batman comes in with the Bat Cycle, and lets the Bat Cycle get thrusted into the jet propeller to where it stops it from moving, and both Andrea and Batman escape from this. So, as Bats talks to Andrea here, Batman is trying to convince Andrea about how vengeance is not the answer. And Andrea says, like, well, yeah, coming from you, like that just kind of feels a little bit strange. So Batman inevitably goes on to face off against Joker. The two of them go into this almost Godzilla like fight between the two of them in these skyscrapers of buildings the same size of they are, and Joker uses this remote and starts to rip through these buildings and starts to use pieces of them to attack Batman. Uh, Joker ends up getting hit in the face and then eventually loses a tooth. Joker goes on to use his remote to bring in all of these toy helicopters to blade through Batman's suit because I guess yeah the suit isn't really made of anything but just cloth or just tights or what have you. It's nothing to really be something that can't quite easily be cut through. So Batman uses his fist to try to break through all the toy copters, and at one point he uses his cape as the thing to gather up all of the robots together and starts to swing it and bash it on the ground. Uh, Joker explains to Batman how he's armed explosives around this entire amusement park, and in 5 minutes everything will go up. So Batman realizes they need to get the heck out of there. Joker all of a sudden has this jetpack, and Batman is trying as much as he can to stop Joker from going anywhere. And Joker is telling Batman, it's like, why are you stopping me? If anything, like, if you just let me go, like, at least one of us will be safe. So, if anything, Batman is willing to take the risk, and so he breaks the jetpack to where the two of them go falling down onto the ground. Andrea comes back into the fold and grabs Joker and tells him to give it up. Joker explains to Andrea that this place is, or either Batman or Joker explains that this place is going to blow soon, and Andrea doesn't care. She's grabbing onto Joker, and at this point, she's like, well, hey, if he goes, I go. Like, if anything, one way or another, it ends tonight. It's very much like, once this dialogue starts coming out, it's very much like Jason Todd in Under the Red Hood. It's very like identical. It's him or me. Like it's that kind of bit of dialogue from Under the Red Hood where uh where Jason's uh, like uh, why keep him alive? Like he took me away from you. Like I'm not telling you to kill Penguin or Two Face or any of the like. I'm asking you to just kill him because he took me away from you. He killed me, and you weren't willing to cross that one line. Da 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 da. All the dialogue, yeah. So the timer on the explosive is in an oven, ready to go. We start to see this entire amusement park start to pop off, and Batman is calling for Andrea. All of a sudden, Andrea and Joker smoke starts to foam around them, and at this point, Batman is breaking through this amusement park, falling into what looks like the sewer system through this watery tunnel, and eventually comes out the other end, just through the rubble and through the city. So Bruce, when making his way back to the Batcave, as to tell Alfred they couldn't save her, and Alfred is to just say that vengeance had kind of consumed her and kind of blackened her soul. And Alfred was always afraid that would probably happen to Bruce one day, but Bruce had stared into the abyss, and he didn't blink. At some point, they'll go on and there'll be the Crisis on Two Earths, where Batman will be talking to Owlman, and they go on and they do that whole quote about the whole abyss thing. So they probably ripped that off from this movie. Because at some point they go on and they talk about like how well, yeah, you stared in the bliss and you blinked, and they rip off, I think, that line probably from this movie, because I think probably Bruce Timm was probably working on those same projects, because he was kind of a guy that did like Justice League stuff and all kind of DC projects forever, so he could probably go on and do quite a bit of tying of things that people may not know had been coming from other projects that we weren't aware of them until we watched them all. Now that we have the easy ability to binge watch everything. Anyways, so all of a sudden Bruce ends up seeing a glimmer of light in the Batcave. Bruce goes on to try to figure out what that is. He pulls the blinking from out of the cave, to come to find that it's the necklace that has the picture of him and Andrea in it, to be as a memento for Bruce from the fallout of all this case. So the next thing we see is this boat, this cruise ship, and oh yeah, I guess that, yeah, shit, like, yeah, I guess it does at the very end say that Andrea did make it out of here. I fudged that. My apologies. I think I said at some point that I thought that Andrea died, or kind of left it crap. No, she does make it out of this, so Joker had to have made it out of this. But I was just in some odd thing. I was thinking that she died. Um, Plus, also, like, to know the Justice League Unlimited thing happens, so she would have had to have made it out alive. Um, Either way, so it's like, wait a minute, like, how is she? And then like, oh yeah, like the end of this movie uh has Andrea talk to this guy on this cruise, and uh he talks about her being alone, and And the last thing we see here is Batman looking at the bat signal. He goes on with the grapple, and credits roll. So with that said, I'm going to try to get the heck out of here because I know how short this video was. Well, I know how short this movie was. This video wasn't short. Plus, also, I hope to. Yeah, that might not be happening. I was thinking like, oh yeah, I could probably just squeak out one more. I always try to say that I'm like, yeah, I'm going to squeak out one more project, and then like problems happen, issues occur, and then I'm like, yeah, that's not going to happen. Plus, I have been sleeping lately. I've really been pushing when I should go to sleep. But man, I want to try to be more like productive. I want to try to make the right choices. But I feel like I really haven't been doing that enough lately. Um, but at least I'm gonna try to just put this out there and just have to be uh just be like, God dang it, like why can't I choose a good project? Maybe that'll happen someday. Uh but if anything, like there has been some lucky projects that have just continued to just keep blossoming, that I didn't think were going to be on the radar of anybody. Also, there are times where like I feel like I'm at my worst, and like those are the projects that do the best. So yeah, like that's what's just kind of frustrating to me is it's just like, man, I wish like the right project came by and everybody really hooked onto that, and it was at my best possible day, and yeah, like I don't know, like I would just have to be very lucky at that, like, but I don't know, like uh I'm gonna get out of here. I should probably go on and finish this up. So thank you all for watching this. At the end of the day, hopefully I can upload this and get this. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying here. So that's it. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, everybody.